This is the business of sports.
Sports are the greatest unscripted show on earth.
The next generation of players who really grew up with tech and believe in tech.
Your face is your ticket. Your face is your wallet. Your face is your access to a club.
These are such iconic and important buildings for businesses, for fans.
COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to golf.
The NFL is a bulletproof business.
Racing's unique because there is absolutely no reason why we can't compete with the guys.
Come on, is pro pickleball real? Are people really going to tune into this?
If you're playing Moneyball with a huge bag of money, you're going to be really, really good.
Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
This is the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr, along with my colleagues Damian, Sassower, and Vanessa Perdomo. Coming up on the show, we'll celebrate the newest NBA champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll talk about what the big win means for the city with Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt.
Being a championship city is an attainment of sports immortality. It's such a game changer for our city.
We've got that and more on the way on the Bloomberg Business of Sports. And we start with Bloomberg US sports business reporter Randall Williams, who is here to take us through those finals and some of the other big headlines lately in basketball, including that big announcement from last week about the Lakers sale and more. Hi, Randall Williams.
You just sounded like a teacher when you get in trouble or get caught doing something. But good to see you too, Mr. Barr. And thank you for having me.
Man, there's a lot of stuff that is jumping off, especially recently. There's so many ways to go in the NBA here, but let's talk about one of the biggest stories in the NBA that has happened in the past several days. The Lakers. You know, this used to be a Bus family production, and now this is about to change. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Mark Walter has bought a majority stake in the Lakers to be valued at $10 billion. It is a high mark that I don't see anybody passing for a very long time, very long being maybe 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
Mark Walter's obviously the owner of the Dodgers. If you are an LA native, if you're a Lakers fan, this is a great sign.
So wait a second. I just have to go back. You don't think that every team, like the Dallas Cowboys, who are valued at $10.1 billion as of last year by Sportico, that all those valuations don't explode to the upside off the back of this? Or?
I do think that they will be valued at more, but I think as far as a control sale, this is going to be the high mark for a bit.
Interesting.
I think like if the Seahawks were put up for sale tomorrow, I don't know that they would go for 10. I think they might go for 7 or 8. But 10 is high.
Yeah, 10's high. And how the question is, how do you get to 10 after Mark Walters invested into the team 4 years ago for a valuation of $5 billion? Yeah. They don't own their arena. They didn't win a new championship. How do you double your valuation in 4 years then?
I think it's all in brand value and media, of course. Like they have a new media deal that hasn't kicked in yet. It'll kick in next year, but the Lakers are one of the biggest brands in the world, period. And in sports, like they're a top 3 sports brand. And there are some people who would say they're the number 1 sports brand ahead of both the Yankees and the Cowboys. Now, I don't know about that, and I'll leave that up to debate, but the Lakers are top 3. Right. And with that in mind, like you think about how many sports franchises have been relevant for 50 years. And I'm not talking about like, oh yeah, they won back in the day and I remember those good old days. Like the Celtics are sort of like that. Like the Celtics won a gazillion championships 60 years ago, and then they've won 2 in the last 25 years. The Lakers have won championships in every single decade over the past 50 years, I believe, all the way back to the 80s, 90s, and then, of course, the 2000s and 2010s as well. And so when you're thinking about that, as well as the amount of superstars they've had, like, if you ever played NBA 2K before and you look at the all-time Lakers team, it's Magic, Kobe, James Worthy, Shaq, and Kareem. That doesn't even include LeBron and now Luka and so many other stellar players who just pack out arenas. And there aren't that many franchises in the NBA or in the NFL or in the MLB who can say, no matter who's here, we're going to sell out.
Now, by the way, we got to talk about something else. The ratings for Game 7 of this past NBA Finals. ESPN was happy with Game 7. About 16.4 million viewers, according to Nielsen data, watched the Thunder in Game 7 go on to win. Now, the games before that, a little shaky, and I think part of that
historically low.
Yeah, I think part of it is because let me ask you they thought OKC was going to win hands down.
Why do you all think ratings were low? I'm interested.
people thought OKC was just going to run away with it. You know, nobody expected any drama from the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here we go, and it's like people are thinking, man, I should have been watching Game 5 and Game 6.
Well, I did hear that the Game 1 was like $9 million, and that was like the lowest since like the 80s or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, Randall?
The Game 1 and 2 ratings were low, but I would say this to the ratings conversation, is that yes, ratings are low. I think that there's blame to place everywhere. If I ask you where Tyrese Halliburton went to school, do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay, you went to Iowa State. That's something that if you watch the games, and I don't know whether you did or you didn't, but that's something that should be talked about all throughout these playoffs, is the journey that these players go through, and that's not discussed as much on the broadcast anymore. We have trades happening in the middle of the NBA Finals, and Kevin Durant is a marvelous player,
of course,
but that never happened a decade ago where trades were happening in the middle of this thing, and it takes away of the attention. And also, there's blame to place on media as well. ESPN did not treat the NBA Finals like the NBA Finals. I think from top to bottom, the broadcast was average. Yeah. Stephen A. is an incredible talent, but a lot of times who he's paired with and the conversation they're having does not make you excited for the game. When someone says, I'm not excited about going to Oklahoma City to watch this game, and you're a fan listening to that, of course you don't want to come. And so I think it's two things. It's storytelling around the league. How do you uplift these superstars? So if you take away the storytelling, it's also from the brand perspective. How many Converse advertisements did you see for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Tyrese Halliburton, who debuted his new signature shoe? You didn't see any. But a decade ago, if this was LeBron, if this was KD, if this was Kobe, Nike would have for sure had signature sneaker commercials. My favorite commercials of all time are the LeBron and Kobe puppets.
Yeah.
But no, you don't see that branding anymore. And so if you don't see the branding, if you're a kid watching this, what makes you want to continue to tune into this when the broadcasters act like they don't want to be there, when you don't know anything about the players, and the brands aren't promoting it? I don't think it's helping.
So I guess, to point fingers, but it's ESPN's fault then, right? I mean, let's be clear. And look, I mean, you must be really upset that ESPN just bought the PLL, the Premier Lacrosse League, because I didn't think there was something that much wrong with the broadcast. I just think, quite honestly, it was a hangover after some of the semifinal and quarterfinal matches. I think the Knicks. I do.
I beg to differ. I think this was a really good finals. That if Halliburton doesn't tear his Achilles or rupture his Achilles, who knows how that game goes? He came out firing. Yeah. But again, if both the NBA and its media partners plural, and corporate partners do not act like the finals are the most magnificent event in the world, then people won't. If the Super Bowl this year features the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers, two small market teams, I guarantee you the NFL is going to be storytelling around this as if this is the greatest Super Bowl of all time. And it could be a 13-3 game. We've seen things like that happen. But again, if you don't act like it, then people don't believe it. Yeah. And that's what's happening right now.
By the way, I should add, the entire series, it averaged 10.3 million viewers per game. That's the least since 2021.
That goes to the face of the NBA conversation,
exactly.
and that's really where it goes back to. And I feel like one of the things that we're seeing in the draft, and we're seeing all the MVP conversations, all of that is the conversations around international players, and should they be the face of the NBA, and people feel like they shouldn't be. Why does that matter? And do people really need to put that aside?
First of all, it doesn't matter. I think that people love good basketball regardless. But having an international face is so new for the league. I mean, you think about the most popular players in the last three finals have all been international stars. Right. Joker, most popular. Luka is more popular than both Tatum and Brown. And then this year, of course, you have SGA. However, if you don't market it like that, if you're not ready to embrace it, and if the Americans aren't succeeding, we were reminded that America is still dominant in the basketball forum, of course, with the 2024 Olympics. Right. There's no guarantee that that's going to happen in 2028 in LA. I would argue that I wouldn't be surprised if they lost in 2028 in LA because of the fact that the old guard will be gone. We've watched LeBron and KD carry Team USA for a decade and a half now. But again, this new guard is coming up. People don't know that much about them. But if you've watched the NBA, I mean, the last 7 MVPs have all been international players. You now have an international championship in some aspect with Shea winning it, and you had one 2 years ago with Joker. So this is a reoccurring theme, and I think the NBA is going to get better at this. They're going to have to challenge ESPN to stop defecating on their game. But I'm serious. If you watch the NFL coverage versus the NBA coverage, the NFL coverage is so much more in depth, and the games are different. I'm not saying that they're not different. If you watch NFL Live, you watch NBA Today, and also this is due to the fact that the seasons are different. The NFL game is much more condensed, and so ESPN's coverage naturally, and basketball coverage naturally, leans into the drama. But when it's playoff time, the drama is over. The drama has to be on the court because, as we've seen over the past decade, drama is going to happen in June and July regardless whether you're talking about it in May or April or even January. But if you're talking about it in the midst of your playoffs, people are going to be like, yeah, the playoffs, but oh boy, I can't wait for free agency to happen.
Speaking of drama, now, by the way, the NBA draft first round, Cooper Flagg, Dallas Mavericks, yeah, surprise. No,
crazy.
No. But the one that caught me for drama, Danny Wolf, he was picked 27th overall by the Brooklyn Nets. And then you see the shot of his mother crying. Mm-hmm. And then you see the shot of him crying. And then there's a shot of me crying because I thought that was one of the most touching things when you're talking about sports.
I think that this NBA draft and watching it, I saw more tears and just more emotional moments than I've seen in a long time, and that was beautiful to see. Not a lot of drama. I think the Mavericks part of it is incredibly fascinating. Just the last 12 months of the Mavericks, I'd say 18 months even with Cuban selling to the Adelson family. It's going to need a documentary someday. Just it doesn't matter if they win or lose, but just the fact that a team sold, they traded the biggest superstar, arguably in the franchise history. I think Luka's a bit more popular than Dirk. And then you draft the number one pick again. Like, just the chances of that are crazy. But again, NBA draft, very emotional night. I thought it was a great and fun thing to watch.
Randall Williams, I love you, man. Thank you for coming and joining us on the Bloomberg Business
Appreciate you for having me, as always.
Our thanks to Randall Williams for joining us. He's Bloomberg US sports business reporter. Up next, we take a break from basketball and turn to the gridiron. We'll talk with someone who's working on bringing the latest tech and AI to Gillette Stadium. With my colleagues Damian, Sassower, and Vanessa Perdomo, I'm Michael Barr. You are listening to the Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio around the world.
This is Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
This is the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr, along with Damian Sassower. The Kraft Group is going all in on AI across their businesses, and that includes the New England Patriots and their home venue, Gillette Stadium. In April, the Kraft Group announced a new partnership with NWN, North America's largest AI-powered technology solutions provider. And here to talk to us about the partnership and other tech innovations that could come to Gillette is Michael Israel. He's Chief Information and Technology Officer for the Kraft Group. Michael, welcome to the Bloomberg Business of Sports.
Thank you for having me.
One thing you guys are dabbling in, it involves AI-powered technology solutions, and you guys are working with it. Can you tell us about that and the impact that's having on the sport, on sports in general?
Sure. Yeah, well, sports in general. So we started with AI-based technology at the stadium a couple of years ago. Really where we started with is video anomaly detection and using standard security camera footage, intercepting that footage and detecting real-time what's happening in the stadium. So if someone leaves a bag behind, if a concession line is long, if a garbage can's overflowing, detecting that and creating action associated with that. So if a concession line is long, do I need more cashiers? If a garbage can's overflowing, automatically dispatching custodial staff. So using video that would normally just go unused to create actionary items and enhance our guest experiences as they're coming in. Moving forward, we're looking at things like facial recognition for entry, for concession purchasing, where it's tied to a digital wallet. So if you walk up and you opt in, if you walk up to a entry line, it will see your face, shred your ticket. If you walk up to a concession stand, I want a cheeseburger, a beer, or fries. It checks your ID, hits your credit card, hits our loyalty system, and you're off and going. So looking at speed of transaction, enhanced customer service, really new ways to make your experience at the stadium better.
Mike, let's talk about the Razor. I mean, as a New York Jets fan, that's one of my least favorite places to be, Foxborough, New England. But nevertheless, I have to ask you about how your technology is going to change the fan experience at the Blade. I mean, I am hearing some wonderful things about what you're doing. You're overhauling the entire IT infrastructure. I mean, talk to us about what's going on up there.
Well, we're essentially taking, our stadium is now a little over 20 years old, and technology was stagnant, really refreshing the entire technology stack across the stadium with the folks over at NWN helping us rebuild our stack, but again, create more engaging experiences. So IPTV, putting unique video content into our suites, into our concourses, so that based on where you are, you may be seeing different things, but really enhanced experiences so that it's better than being at home.
You're also involved with, I guess, training facilities and applying the applications to help keep players informed and engaged. Tell us about that.
Correct. Our new training facility is being built as we speak. We'll be coming live next April. We'll have new draft rooms. We'll have new content spaces. So WebEx platforms in all of our meeting rooms, locations within weight rooms, training facilities where folks can go. What's my schedule for the day? What specific plans do I have? When's our next meal time? But in our conference rooms, having the ability to control everything from the lights, from the blinds, from the content on the screens, right from our common Cisco touchpads.
So, Michael, we have a pretty sophisticated audience here at the Bloomberg Business of Sports. And, it's not just about sports. I mean, the Kraft Group is the holding company for 100 different portfolio companies like venture, PE, direct investments, you name it. I mean, the Rand Whitney Container Company, I mean, all of that stuff. Talk to us about how these different verticals, what you're doing with them, how AI, how your technology is enhancing the productivity across the board.
Sure. So we have right now in excess of 75 different AI-based use cases that are being evaluated. So it could be something as simple in sports as automatically transcribing press conferences as they happen, or going into our manufacturing facilities, looking at a tractor trailer as it comes into our facility and monitoring when it enters, how long is it in a docking bay, how long does it take to unload that tractor, and when does it leave our facility? And comparing that to our invoices as they come in and saying, hey, that truck wasn't here an hour and a half. We have it documented of only 38 minutes for an unload. That's resulting in a decrease in our expenses. Monitoring how raw materials are getting loaded onto our conveyor belts to make sure they're being loaded in a sequential order, or looking at, in our manufacturing facility in Worcester, Massachusetts, what's the proper sequencing of box manufacturing orders so that we have the least amount of waste coming out of that machine so that we can get the most out of a roll of paper. All of these pieces are looking at how we do business historically and how can we use AI to change that in the future, enhance our operations, reduce costs, reduce complexity.
Michael, the impact of technology on sports really just, today, just for example, the fact that Amazon, Apple, and Netflix are now airing, NFL games as opposed to, Disney and Warner Brothers and things like that, but it extends beyond that, right? It extends to, esports, for example. It extends to sports betting. And, I just want to ask you about, some of the features you're going to be implementing within, Gillette Stadium. How do they take advantage of the $100 billion in revenue that the sports betting globally, global sports betting market has generated in 2024 alone? Are there designs to sort of capture a bit of that?
There's gambling going on? I'm shocked.
No, well, there's no official gambling going on from our perspective. We have some sponsors who are there, but when folks are here at the stadium, I have to make sure I have enough bandwidth to support whatever they're looking to do.
Fair.
And we will look at, on a typical game day, we have 60,000 people in the stadium. we will have in excess of 45 to 50,000 unique clients on our Wi-Fi network. And we monitor the applications that they're using. And yes, it's the Yahoo and the Instagrams and those types of pieces, but the sports betting apps are gaining and gaining. So we have to make sure we have enough bandwidth to support whatever they're doing in real time. If they want to make a bet on the fourth quarter on what's going to happen, they don't want to wait. They don't want to see an hourglass. They want real responsive networks. And we have that. And we continue to evolve and make it faster, make it better.
You know, in the fan experience, it's not just about football, right? I mean, it's also about, concerts. It's about, all the other stuff that goes on, at Gillette Stadium. Talk to us a little bit about, what you're doing there, how you're capturing, a greater, I guess, percentage of the fan engagement experience, as it were. I mean, talk to us about, how you make going to a Fish concert, for example, even more enjoyable than it already is.
You love Fish, don't you?
I am a Fish head. I am.
Well, it's, the challenge goes from concert to concert. When you see, like, for example, several years ago, we had Taylor Swift, and we had 215,000 guests in the facility over 3 days. When I'm sitting walking in the stadium and there's 60,000 guests in, but I hear on my radio that there's 70,000 unique people on Wi-Fi. I'm like, well, how can that be? Well, you have a TikTok challenge in your parking lot and 10,000 extra fans that are in your parking lot. That's something you don't plan for. So what we do is look and saying, hey, we need to make sure we're prepared for what comes tomorrow. We have FIFA World Cup coming to our stadium next summer. We're preparing now for that influx of 7 matches and the amount of bandwidth that we're going to need, the amount of stand-up, pop-up, retail, and concession locations, enhancing our TVs, enhancing our IPTV frameworks. This is all stuff that is not stagnant. It doesn't sit still. We have to make sure we are a step ahead of what our fans are expecting and what my business is asking of us.
Our thanks to Michael Israel for joining us. He's Chief Information and Technology Officer for the Kraft Group. Sticking with football, the latest episode of The Deal with Alex Rodriguez and Jason Kelly, featuring a conversation with two titans, legendary coach Bill Belichick and Bridgewater founder Ray Dalio. Those two know a lot about winning and success. Let's take a listen to a portion of that conversation.
Bill, you've played for multiple owners. No need to mention names. That's not important. What is important is, from your experience and your lens, what makes a good owner, good management team to support what you do on the field?
Well, again, I think it starts with what Ray just said, is what are your goals?
Mm-hmm.
What are your goals? Is it the bottom line? Is it financial? Is it championships? And you've been a player, and I'm sure that you felt like as a player, you wanted a path to a championship.
Yeah.
And when something got in the way of that path, you wanted it removed.
Yeah.
Whatever it happened to be, whether it's travel or, personnel or the way something was handled, that it affected your performance as a player. And I would say those two don't necessarily align. Financial success and on the field success, that there could be a trade-off there that I think as an owner, you'll have to make a decision as to, what you probably want the best of both, but ultimately which one is the driving force. And it's probably like that in a lot of businesses. What are your goals? And if goals are, truly winning, as a player that you want to remove every obstacle that's could be in the way of a manager or a player of achieving his winning goals. Financially, that could be expensive.
Yeah.
So, Ray, it's interesting, over the years of, covering Wall Street and investing for Bloomberg, I got to watch you build this firm. And part of one of the underlying principles, I believe, is this notion of innovation and always sort of changing and evolving. And both of you, and we'll get to Coach in a second, have sort of pushed into new markets. How do you think about that? How do you think about innovation? What are the principles underlying how you go on and build into something new?
I don't know if it's much thinking about it as much as feeling it. You feel the excitement, you feel the pull. One of the principles that he's phrased so well, and I also, is being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Okay.
Or I might say also the reverse. I'm sometimes uncomfortable if I'm comfortable.
Okay.
Okay.
That's just a little taste, a little sample of the latest episode of The Deal with Alex Rodriguez and Jason Kelly, featuring Bridgewater founder Ray Dalio and legendary NFL coach and now UNC football coach Bill Belichick. Go to Bloomberg.com to learn more and catch the full episode. Up next, back to basketball. We celebrate the Oklahoma City Thunder's NBA Finals win with OKC Mayor David Holt. I'm Michael Barr. You're listening to the Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio around the world.
This is Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio.
Thanks for joining us on the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr, along with Damian Sassower and Vanessa Perdomo. The Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions, and superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander added final MVP to his resume in the same season. It's one of the most impressive single seasons for an NBA player in history. Here he is, just after the win.
It's hard to believe that I'm part of that group. It's hard to even fathom that I'm that type of basketball player sometimes. As a kid, you dream, and every kid dreams, but you don't ever really know if it's going to come true. And I'm just glad and happy that my dreams have been able to come true, and that's a thank you to everyone that's been in my corner that's helped me get here. I wouldn't be able to have done without them. They know exactly who they are. So, yeah, it's a win for the family.
That's SGA speaking to reporters after the Thunder won big for Oklahoma City. Joining us now is the mayor, the winning town, OKC Mayor David Holt. David, congratulations and welcome to the Bloomberg Business of Sports.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Business of Sports, man. That's the business we've been in lately in OKC. So
yeah, you just had the parade. Man, you guys were having some fun. OKC. Bless your hearts. This is the last time, only 2 years ago, you didn't even have a 500 season. And now, look at you guys.
Yeah, it's been an amazing week. It's all happened so fast. I mean, Sunday night was Game 7. Tuesday morning was 500 million people in downtown Oklahoma City, an event unlike anything we've ever had. And yeah.
It's hard to keep track, I bet.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind for sure, and I guess I'll sleep when I'm dead because it's been that kind of a week.
I feel like, right, because it feels like you won't be able to really relax for a while because something you did at the parade was announce a celebration day for every single player on the team over the next month. What are those days going to look like, and how do you celebrate every single person on over the next month?
Yes. Well, yes. So I proclaimed there's 18 people on the roster. And by the way, the Thunder, it's part of their culture is to really extend that as far as possible. So that 18, of course, is, I think, higher than like the official roster, right? But that includes 3 people that were two-way players who, were playing and eligible at the end of the regular season, but kind of carried through as members of the team in as far as the Thunder were concerned. So there's 18 days I proclaimed. Starting after July 4th and going all the way till July 30th. And, I don't think we'll have 500,000 people show up for each of those days. I think we will, I will issue a proclamation. It may be more of a social media event than a in real life event. But it definitely felt appropriate and it definitely felt good and proper to sort of carry this forward. I don't think anyone in Oklahoma City is done celebrating this championship. I suspect on some level we'll be kind of in celebration mode all the way till the regular season tips off in October, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Michael Barr brings up a really, really interesting point. In the 2022-23 season, the Thunder were below 500, and it was in September of 23, if I'm not mistaken, that you were the one who announced that proposal to publicly fund a new arena in Oklahoma City. And part of the deal was to get the Thunder to stay in Oklahoma City beyond 2050. And, you did it. And you got it with 71% voting for the new arena. I mean, and look at where we are now. So this is really just an unbelievable whirlwind of a few years for you, no?
Yeah. And by the way, we inked the deal to like in writing to keep the team here till 2053 last week. Our council passed it between games 5 and 6 of the NBA Finals. I mean, yeah, so it's been a lot of developments lately. But to your point, and let me back up just a little bit to say, the relationship between this team and this city, I think, is very unique. This was our first major league professional sports team. It really redefined our city when it came here in 2008. I often say that the closest thing America has to a blue ribbon that it bestows upon its top tier cities is a major league professional sports team, especially in the NFL, the MLB, and the NBA. And so we value that. We recognize, we can see with our own eyes how life was different before 2008 and after 2008 in ways that extend far beyond basketball. And so their original 15-year lease was expiring in 2023. Our arena is it's like the second cheapest in the league. It's the smallest in the league by square footage. It's over 20 years old. It was obvious that we were not going to be able to secure a long-term contract with this team or any team with that arena. And we built it before the team came. So it's not even really an NBA arena, it was actually built with the NHL in mind. So we went through a community conversation. And as you said, in late 23, 71% of voters approved a 6-year 1-cent sales tax to build a new $1 billion arena. And I don't have to tell you, cities don't pass these things. Like most cities have stopped trying.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Around the time that we voted on this, Kansas City defeated theirs. But that secured for us 25-year commitment in the new arena, basically like 30 years in total. And our thunder for another generation. And then obviously after that, the team, on the court has gone to another level. They're now champions. We inked the deal finally after a year and a half of negotiating the lease just last week in the midst of the NBA Finals. And actually next month, we'll be able to release the renderings of the new arena. So, yeah, it is an exciting time in OKC relative to the Thunder on every level.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Michael Barr reminds me that this journey for you began all the way back in 2008 when you were part of, if I'm not mistaken, the former mayor or to convince the Seattle Supersonics to come to Oklahoma City. So congratulations. I mean, this is unbelievable. And look, I mean, you've got the Summer Olympics coming up in 2028, right? I mean, isn't Oklahoma City slated to host a few events there?
Yeah, and yes, I was chief of staff to my predecessor when the Thunder came in 2008. So yeah, I've been there at every step of this journey. And for an OKC kid who grew up in a city that didn't have pro sports and never could have imagined having pro sports, it's pretty special on many
posters of Mickey Mantle on your wall growing up, I imagine.
So, but to your point, we have, and it's sort of been organic in the end. I mean, obviously we strategically pursued different initiatives, but the way that they've all come together feels a little organic, but we have definitely leveraged sports in our community as a way to build. And so you referenced the Olympics, but it all kind of starts obviously with the NBA. We, of course, have made major investments in softball, which made us the softball capital of the world and the home of the Women's College World Series, which is one of the great events in American sport now. And then, of course, we invested in whitewater rafting of all things, and have the only whitewater facility west of the Mississippi. Oh, wow. And that allowed us to attract a lot of international events. And then, this opportunity came along where Los Angeles was really looking to have a sustainable games and didn't want to build facilities that they didn't have. And here in Oklahoma City, of all places, we have, as I said, the only whitewater facility west of the Mississippi, the biggest softball stadium in the world by 2.5 times. And so we began a conversation sort of confidentially 7 years ago. First started between my friend, the former mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, and then, of course, Casey Wasserman joined that conversation. And we worked through this over the last several years until it finally became public about a year ago. And now we are going to have those two sports, softball and canoe slalom. That's the Olympic work phrase for what whitewater canoe kayak is. And we're going to have those two sports, 7 total events here in Oklahoma City in 2028. And we're the only city outside of Southern California that's hosting an entire sport, much less 2. And that means there's going to be events every day of the Summer Olympics here in OKC, which again, as an OKC kid, if I would find it hard to comprehend that we're the home of the NBA champions, it's even more beyond my comprehension to imagine that people will have gold medals put around their necks here in Oklahoma City in 2028.
Well, you've done it, Mr. Mayor. Me, Michael Barr, and Vanessa, we're coming down to the Big Friendly. We're going to visit Cattleman's Steakhouse. We're going to go to Stockyard City. We're going to go to Mickey Mantle's. We're going to do it all. We're going to go to El Reno for onion burgers with Michael Barr.
Oh, man. You know what? Years ago, many years ago, I was in OKC because I think the ABC had a bowling tournament there. And I used to be a big bowler. And I loved it. I had a good time in Oklahoma City.
I can hear Mr. Mayor yawning on the other end.
I know.
I'm going to guess that the city has grown and changed a lot since then. I would love to show you the modern version of Oklahoma City.
You know what? And let me tell you, I know time is short, but I was talking about this before and show you how much of a geezer I am, Mr. Mayor. The year you were born, I just got my permit to drive a car. That's how old I am. I am geezer dumb. It's bad.
Michael, it's called wisdom, actually,
Yeah, okay. And we'll go with that.
Mr. Mayor, I'm curious, you're saying how much the city's changed since then. So how much does the city now change after being NBA champions? What else does that bring?
Because I really feel it is a significant change. I mean, so if you think about how getting a team provided this sort of credibility that suddenly changed the way we see ourselves and the way others see us, being a championship city is an attainment of sports immortality, right? Mm-hmm. That also changes the conversation yet again. I know that, of course, I'm selling my city all the time, mm-hmm. right? And I know that any conversation I have for as long as I'm mayor, beyond the borders of my city limits, that conversation will start with this, right? This is a conversation starter. It's a credibility builder, right? People who are thinking about creating jobs in our city, investing in our city, bringing some restaurant we don't have, bringing some retail we don't have, right? They'll begin their thought process by saying, well, gosh, if they have an NBA championship, they must be important enough for me to do business there. Mm-hmm. And that feels silly, but it's real. I mean, it's just, and I'm a mayor, I live in reality. And the reality of this is that a championship changes you forever. And that's why I think of this moment as probably one of the 5 most significant events in the history of the city, positive events in the history of the city. Like, the discovery of oil and gas, the arrival of an Air Force base we have here called Tinker Air Force Base that employs 30,000 people. The arrival of the team, and now the attainment of a championship. I mean, that's some of the top 5 events, I think, in 130 plus years of history. Wow. It's that significant. And it changes our city forever, and obviously in a very positive way. And we're excited about that.
Our thanks to Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt for joining us. And that does it for the Bloomberg Business of Sports. And now, if you missed any part of it, check it out on demand on the Bloomberg Business of Sports podcast. Find that on Apple, Spotify, and all your favorite platforms. For my colleagues, Damian Sassower and Vanessa Perdomo, I'm Michael Barr. Tune in again next week for the latest on the stories moving big money in the world of sports. You're listening to the Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio around the world. And don't forget to catch our podcast.